Good morning and welcome to an exciting day to talk business. It's Business 360. My name is Blyden Ukem. In today's Business 360, we'll look at the key features in the world of business. We'll x-ray the very fine details from the stock market, pending activities of yesterday in the Nigerian stock and how it gets to affect today's market. We'll also x-ray the impacts in the US statey market, the US stock market. Also looking at the forex market as well as the commodity market. A former Apple engineer has been charged with stealing the company's self-driving car technology almost 5 years after he fled to China. Prosecutors accuse Weber Wang, 35 years of age, of stealing thousands of files containing proprietary information while secretly working for an unnamed Chinese company. 6 counts of theft or attempted theft of trade secrets are in the indictment. This is the third time an ex-Apple employee has been accused of stealing autonomous tech secrets for China. The Justice Department alleges Mr. Wang stole documents containing the source code for the software and hardware behind the self-driving systems. Mr. Wang joined Apple in March 2016 as a member of the team that developed technology for autonomous systems, according to the Justice Department, and it's quite concerning from the US point of view. Still in the US. The US House Financial Services Committee conducted further oversight surrounding the recent bank failures. At the Financial Committee hearing, the Federal Reserve Vice Chair, Michael Barr, took responsibility for the bank failures under his watch. Financial Committee and the meeting with the executives.
Administration. We thank each of you for your time. Each of you will be recognized for 5 minutes for oral presentation of your testimony. Mr. Barr, you're recognized.
Chairman McHenry, Ranking Member Waters, and other members of the committee, thank you for the opportunity to testify today. Overall, the U.S. banking system remains strong and resilient, and depositors should feel confident and respond to risks. My review of Silicon Valley Bank's failure demonstrates that there are weaknesses in regulation and supervision that should be addressed, and I am committed to doing so. I am also committed to maintaining the strength and diversity of the banking system so that it continue to provide financial services and access to credit for households and businesses. As we consider adjustments to our rules and supervisory practices, I am sensitive to how changes may affect banks in the current economic environment. My written testimony and accompanying supervision and regulation report provide details on conditions in the banking sector and supervisory and regulatory efforts of the Federal Reserve over the last 6 months. Let me turn to the SVB. It takes an unflinching look at the conditions that led to the bank's failure, including the role of Federal Reserve supervision and regulation. There are 4 key takeaways from the report. First, SVB's board of directors and management failed to manage the bank's risks. Second, Federal Reserve supervisors did not fully appreciate the extent of the vulnerabilities as SVB was growing in size and complexity. Third, when supervisors did identify vulnerabilities, they did not take sufficient steps to ensure that the bank fixed those problems quickly enough. Fourth, the board's tailoring approach impeded effective supervision by reducing standards, increasing complexity, and promoting a less assertive supervisory approach. The 4 key takeaways show failures by SVB's board and senior management, and failures by the Federal Reserve sector, and supervisory and regulatory efforts of the Federal Reserve over the last 6 months.
That was the outlook from US concerning those meetings regarding banks and their failures in the US. Let's move to Africa, talk about the business outlook in Africa, beginning with an IMF report. The International Monetary Fund has said that weaker currencies in Nigeria and other sub-Saharan African countries are pushing up public debts. This was published on the IMF's website. The fund noted that with an average depreciation of 9% since January 2022, sub-Saharan African currencies have weakened against the US dollar. The IMF further noted that the depreciation were mostly driven by external factors, adding that lower risk appetite in global markets and interest rate hikes in the United States push investors away from the region towards safer and higher paying US Treasury bonds. While noting the high import cost in 2022, the IMF added that a large budget deficits had compounded the effects of these external shocks by increasing the demand for foreign exchange. And it's quite concerning from an African point of view and a Nigerian point of view. So looking at talking points in Nigeria. Kaduna Electricity Distribution Company, KAE DECO, risks losing its operational license due to the company's 51.93 billion naira debts, warning the company of its intention to cancel its license. According to reports, it has accrued a debt of 41.49 billion naira between 2015 to 2021 owed to Nigerian Bulk Electricity Trading PLC, NBET, and the market operators, EMO. In 2022, the Kaduna Disco also accrued a total liability to the tune of 51.93 billion naira to NBET and MO, totaling 93.41 billion naira debts from 2015 to 2022. Swiss Pharma Nigeria Limited, a subsidiary of Servier, a French multinational pharmaceutical company, says it has received the World Health Organization pre-qualification for zinc dispersible 20 milligram tablets. According to a statement, Swiffer is the first company in UTAD described the World Health Organization pre-qualification as a rigorous process that evaluates pharmaceutical products based on their qualification, their quality, safety, and efficacy. This recognition is considered worldwide as a symbol of excellence in pharmaceutical manufacturing. It would be a good time to move to global economy and see what the indices are in the world economy, beginning with decline in morning display. As at 12:50 a.m. as highlighted with red, the GDP growth rates quarter-on-quarter preliminary in the first quarter for Japan came out at 0.4%. Previous standing was at 0%, increasing outlook for Japan is 0.4 percentage points. By 12:50 a.m. still for Japan, GDP growth annualized preliminary for first quarter came out at 1.6. Previous standing was at a negative 0.1, indicating improvement in the economy of Japan in the first quarter of this year. Let's look at data releases in the afternoon for April. Previous standing was at 1.43 million, and the expectations would come out around 130. And most investors will look forward to this data and how it gets to affect the market. Talking about US data. The latest US retail sales report provides the widest lens for American consumers' spending habits and will play a major role in determining what comes next for the Federal Reserve. Let's have Dion Rebon of Wall Street Journal on this.
That retail sales report going back for a little bit of a time now. So when you unpack that report, when you want to get into the details, there is a clear trend, and it's one that the Fed has been warning about and been talking about, really going back 3, 4, 5 months now to their meetings at the end of going away, but it's not picking up either. So when we look at this report, we saw a big increase in spending online. Non-store retailers up 8% year over year. Food services and drinking places up 9.4% year over year. Furniture and appliance stores down. A big decline in gasoline spending. So what are folks spending on? Not those home goods, not gasoline, not those things that had been picking up during the pandemic and rising significantly through last year and into 2022. We saw that huge spike in gasoline prices, 9%, while electronics and supply stores down 7.3%. Services inflation is picking up. We're seeing folks spending more money on those things like services, less money on things like goods, and the Fed has been worried about.
Let's move to Asia and see what the perspective regarding economic data is in Asia. The Japan first quarter GDP growth beats forecast. The Japanese economy grew by 0.4% quarter-on-quarter data. This was the fastest expansion since the second quarter of 2022, with private consumption rising the most in the third quarter, in 3 quarters after tough border controls were fully lifted, while capital expenditures unexpectedly rebounded. On an annualized basis, the economy expanded 1.6%. Let's look at the charts indicating Japan's GDP growth rate. The charts. GDP growth rate in Japan has been fully of ups and downs. As of 2020 July, it was at a negative zone, a decline, not expanding, contracting. But by January 2021, it went up, expanded by 1.9%, dropping slightly and expanding again by 0.3% as of July 2021, but it's been ups and down, mixed fortune for Japan economy, and currently at 0.4%. Each quarter it seems to go down, the next quarter it goes up. Let's look at African perspective. Talking about Tunisia's economy. Tunisia's economy advanced by 2.1% year-on-year in the first quarter of 2023, picking up from an upwardly revised 1.7% rise in the previous 3-month period, driven mostly by a 3.2% expansion in the services sector. The mining, water, sewerage, and waste treatment sector plunged by 10.1% due to the 15.7% drop in the output of oil and natural gas extraction and 9.6% in mining. Finally, the agricultural sector was down by 3.1% amid a severe drought in the country. On a quarterly basis, the GDP rose by 0.8% in the first quarter after an upwardly revised 0.7% increase in the fourth quarter of 2022. Let's move to the charts indicating Tunisia's GDP annual growth rate in Tunisia. The charts. In Tunisia, as of July 2020, it was on a negative 18.4%, but GDP growth rate began to expand a year after July 2021, hitting such a magnificent growth rate of 16.9%, but it became more like stable 1.7, 2.7, 2.3, 2.5, 2.8 in 2022 and continues the same formation in 2023. In South Africa, South Africa's jobless rate was up to 32.9% in the first quarter. Unemployment rate edged up to 32.9% in the first quarter of 2023, the first rise in over a year from 32.7% in the prior period. The number of unemployed persons rose by 179,000 to 7.933 million. The employed increased by 258,000 to 16.192 million, and the labor force went up by 437,000 to 24.125 million. Among sectors, job gains the power crisis. The expanded definition of unemployment, which includes those discouraged from seeking work, was 42.4% in the first quarter, down from 42.6% in the fourth quarter. The youth unemployment rate measuring job seekers between 15 and 24 years of age rose to 62.1% in the first quarter from 61% in the previous 3-month period. Let's look at the charts indicating South Africa's unemployment rates. The charts. Unemployment rate in South Africa has been on the rise from July 2020. It was 23.3%, went further upward to 30.8% by January 2021, 32.6%, and further to July 2021, 34.4%. By January 2022, it had gone to a peak point of 35.3% before beginning to slow down and ease slightly. To July 2022, 33.9% and 32.9% currently. Time for the commodities, what the market says this morning. Beginning with metal market commentary by Bob Isino. Gold prints its steepest decline in 1 month as weak economic data eases inflation concerns. Let's hear from Bob Isino regarding this.
In the metals quadrant today, taking a look at a straight down day in the June gold futures contract. Worst single day performance today on a percent happened today was on May 1st. The low today, 1989.10, that was down 1.66%. And why did I call it a straight down day? Because the high today was the same number as the close yesterday. 2022.70 was the high and yesterday's close. No change on the high move today. We finished the day down right around 1.
Amid inflation fears, it's been a concern for most of the economy as well as the commodity markets. Let's move to the metal market and see what the standings are this morning regarding some of the metals, copper, gold, silver, and the rest. The metal market this morning. The market this morning has been that of mixed fortune for gold price is $1,987 per ounce, dropping by 1.17 point, a negative 0.06%. Silver is slightly downward this morning. Copper gaining just slightly, but steel has gained 60 points, a 1.64% up. What the indices are this morning for the energies. Beginning with US crude, the West Texas Intermediary crude oil, $70 per barrel, downward by 0.27 points. Brent crude, which is Nigeria's price benchmark, also slightly downward in the morning market, $74 per barrel. The rest of the energy commodities, byproducts of these crude oil, natural gas, gasoline, heating oil, coal are a little here, a little there. Let's look at agricultural market, what the price of soybeans and the rest are. Soybeans is slightly downward this morning by 5 points, a negative 0.37 points, $1,359 per bushel. Wheat price is gaining slightly by 3.12 points, $650 per bushel. Palm oil dropping by 34 points this morning, a negative 0.98% decline. 3,422 Malaysian ringgit per ton is the price of palm oil. Let's look at the forex market. The indices of the forex market would be that of interest according to Tuesday's Fed Speak pressure, which put pressure on yen futures for a fourth session. Dan Deming will discuss this. Let's hear from Dan Deming.
Executive session, and today's price action has moved the futures market down near the lowest level since early May, which also correspond with the lows for the year. We're just above that here at the 0.00736 level today. So continued selling pressure here throughout the past four sessions when you look at the Japanese yen. And I think when you look at some of the driving factors, a couple of things here. Fed speak throughout the session, a lot of Fed speak today, discussing the U.S., the economy, and the need to remain diligent in combating inflation. And that's impacting very
historical. But let's move to the market and see what the outlines are in the morning market. The euro against the US dollar, these forex space, and the performances today. The market this morning has shown a huge decline for the majors, euro against the US dollar. Not necessarily a huge decline, a slight decline this morning, 1.08. It's the pay of euro against the US dollar. For the pounds against the US dollar, 1.24 point mark is the standing, dropping by 0.34 percentage point. The Aussie also struggling slightly against the US dollar. But let's look at the state of Naira against the majors at the international and exchange window. The US dollar against the Naira, current price is 460 Naira equaling $1 US. Still a little here, a little there, not really moving higher. For the euro against the Naira, 501 Naira equaling €1. The euro is gaining one international exchange window. Let's look at the state of things regarding the paro market, the black market, what the black market's performance would be this morning. The dollar to Naira shows 748 Naira equaling $1 at the buying rate. The dollar has gained 1 point against the Naira from yesterday's market trade. The selling rate 745 Naira equaling $1. Pounds to Naira, 950 Naira to 1 pound at the buying rate, and selling rate 935 Naira to 1 pound. The euro to Naira, 815 Naira to €1 at the buying rate and 800 Naira to €1 at the selling rate. Now to cryptocurrency outlook. Recent bank collapse has been the talking point, and that meeting, Senator Cynthia Lummis scolded bank execs for blaming digital assets at the Financial Committee hearing. Let's find out more regarding that.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. A lot of blame placed on digital assets, so I want to explore that a little bit. Mr. Shea, you put a lot of emphasis in your testimony on your customers in the digital asset industry, and you mentioned in your testimony digital assets 10 times, implying that digital assets was a driver of Signature Bank.
Signature Bank did not hold or custody any digital assets, but I just want to clarify one thing.
And did you trade digital assets?
No.
So the point here is you had depositors that were in the digital asset industry, correct?
Let's leave the politicians and the questioning and intricacies of it and move to the cryptocurrency market and see what the market is saying this morning. The cryptocurrency market. The outlines of the cryptocurrency market this morning has shown negativity for Bitcoin, dropping 123 points. Current price for Bitcoin is $26,804 US dollar for one Bitcoin, dropping a negative 0.45 percentage point. Ether also is seeing decline. Most of my name is Blyden. Thank you for watching.